Donald Trump and Joe Biden just wrapped up their first debate out of Atlanta, hosted by CNN. And Donald Trump, for me, definitely came out more of the fighter. In my opinion, he's the clear person that is fighting for this position. Joe Biden looked comfortable, rehearsed, and relaxed, like he had a good night's rest and did not feel like he was going to drop over at any point. I don't know. I know they didn't have fact check running right away, but they had it as soon as the debate was over. I've seen so many articles already come out, CBS, everyone already fact checking things, saying that Joe Biden had all the facts and Donald Trump didn't. But Donald Trump had more of a fighting passion and seemed like he was more on his toes. The question for me is whether or not this one, Joe Biden, was on anything, because for me, even though he had moments where he was clearly not making sense, even President Donald Trump chuckled and said, I don't understand what he just said there, so I mean, there was issues like that, but for the most part, he held his own. So whatever they did to help him stay up, he stayed up and talked about the economy. He talked about healthcare. He talked a little bit about foreign policy. They asked him questions right out the box on all the major issues. Now, whether or not you take sides and you agree with one side more than the other, I don't know if this debate did it for me personally. I felt like they missed out on several things that I wanted to talk about and I wanted to hear. For instance, the fact that they don't have a studio audience makes it easier for them. In my opinion, the whole point of having a studio audience is to face the people that you're passionately fighting for. When you have no one in an audience, it's so that you can have the ability to pause, reset if you need to, take a break, it feels very boring. I literally almost fell asleep. In fact, my eyes started getting watery. I don't know if you've ever gone down to try to take doze off a little and your eyes you yawn and you get those tears in your eye. I wanted to fall asleep. That's how boring this was. It felt like I was watching two grandpas battle it out on stage. How passionate poor Trump got into it with him once he started, talking about his golf swing. I've never seen someone get that frustrated about their golf swing. Trump really did not like that. I mean, they're going to try to slate this and say that Trump was, he was overstepping and I didn't think he was interrupting enough. It was too boring. I'm used to seeing a person that's his style, is to be a loudmouth, is to be aggressive. And it didn't feel that way to me at all. It felt like he was really holding back and not really saying enough. Like he was kind of like in moments where Biden was clearly saying things that was heating him up in the inside, you could tell Trump was like, just breathe. Like he probably had a moment of I got to remember Melania told me to meditate and just not let this guy get under my skin. And a lot of his rebuttals were calling Joe Biden just a plain flat out lie. Large tax cuts for the rich. That's what Democrats love to tout. You're gonna give tax breaks to the rich, and they do it too. Don't ever forget that both these sides have people that they answer to, huge corporations that they're bought and paid by in order to fight for. Obviously, Biden was pushing this narrative that he's here for the working man. He doesn't want to tax people that make under 400K, that he's fighting for the welfare of people, for, people on Medicare, people to have access to pharmaceutical drugs. Wink, wink. Do we really need pharmaceutical? Every time I hear that argument, I just throw it right out the window, because anybody's trying to push pharmaceutical drugs on me, I'm just going to nod and say, okay, that's great, but how about just better healthcare in general, giving us access to different modalities to make sure we don't get to the path where we need prescription drugs. That's how I feel personally. Then he talked about, they talked about inflation and, under Joe Biden, how bad things are, and the job market. And Of course, it's the same. This is the same stuff back and forth always. I watched as Dana Bash and Jake Tapper were there listening, and I'm thinking how they're keeping their eyes open. They would have had to have my eyes glued open. I just felt so bored, and I don't know if it was just me. I'm pretty sure a lot of Americans tuned off to this too. Like, they started watching and left, because even though it had high viewership ratings, try to remember a lot of things that are online, people are in and out, they're doing other things while they have this playing in the background. So ratings aren't always equating to me as, oh, I was invested in watching every minute and waiting. You know, I felt like I wanted it to be a debate that was going to be more passionate, that I would be more invigorated by the candidates and think that maybe one of them is actually out to help me. But I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like both these people, both of them, and this is strange for me to say because I've already kind of made my mind up that I'm probably going to, at this point in my life, have to go out on a limb and vote differently. I'm an independent. All they do is worry about their self, their own image, and what people think of them instead of what are they going to do for Americans. I did not get the vibe at all that they cared about anybody other than making themselves look good to the media, to the corporations, and sell themselves to the lobbying groups and the people who run the world. The mainstream media is going to push the narrative that Trump never answered the question about two things. He didn't answer about whether he would accept a loss, a defeat. The problem is they want to hear him say the actual words. I would not contest I wouldn't contest any loss. If I lose the election in 2024, I would not contest it. I wouldn't say anything. I would just accept defeat. And that's what they want to hear from this man. And let's just put it this way. We're looking at a time and place where you have two people that are completely the polar opposites, yet in the same group, the same demographic. I never thought we'd get to a point in 2024 we'd have two old ass white men be the people that is the face of the nation, that would be the people we have to vote and put into office for another 4 years. Ugh. I mean, it's exhausting. Okay, so this is what they said. Trump is also addressing questions about his age by talking about how good he is at golf. Tapper and Bash have had to restate the topic Trump is supposed to be addressing. Bullshit. So Trump was asked about his age, just as Biden was. And believe it or not, the first thing out of his mouth was talking about taking a cognitive test, that he was able to pass that. Has Biden taken one? He says, I would dare him to take just one. And Joe laughed. It was his face many times that, Donald Trump talked. Joe Biden had this face of like his mask was just getting crushed and his head was going higher and higher. It's really disturbing to look at. It's really disturbing, especially to see two old men discuss you can't hit a ball 50 yards. I'm like, is this the state of the world? Is this what it has come to? Is this where we're at? I mean, if this is where we're at, I think we're going to have to just accept that this is it. We're nearing the end of days for sure, because this is just it's so bad. Even the argument about suckers and losers that kept coming up, that Joe Biden kept pushing this about, you called, military people suckers and losers and you fired this. And I'm thinking, these people are so obsessed with themselves and dwelling on the past. Can we move forward and talk about what we're doing in the future? Just say this. I don't care so much that somebody needed water right out the gate. I need water a lot when I'm on these videos. Your voice does crack. What I care about is that this is the best we can do for our country. It is bad. Anyways, have a great day, and remember always to think for yourself.